and welcome to Scribe Life and the continuation of our guide to Uncial hand. So in the last video I showed you the circular letters C, E, G, D, O, T and X, and in this one I'll be showing you the letters that combine curved and straight lines. I realised that I missed one in the circular letters, so I'll just quickly cover that in this episode. Not to worry, I'll go through all of them eventually, but just for the sake of starting off with something a little bit familiar, we'll do the Q letter, which is more or less an O shape, and then just a small extension of a diagonal pull. So you just have the same 45-degree angle we showed you earlier. You pull that short line and then reach just at the bottom of the X height. And you can flick it out a little bit if you like. It's fairly simple. Just show you again. So O shape and then short extension. Okay, now moving on to the true curved and straight letters. There's an alternate version of the Q. That's why I did it. And the alternate version of the Q, again, can't remember which one's the historically accurate one, but this one is slightly different. You have the semicircular shape and then the curved line similar to the C, but then you get your pen and starting from that line with the same 45-degree angle, pull your pen down as straight as you can, just below that line. That's a little bit too long, so we'll try that one more time. You don't want to have too long an extender if you're doing an Uncial hand. If you have any descenders or ascending lines, you want to keep them as short as possible because the hand is very much about maintaining a very close X height, so that's probably good enough. Moving on, the next letter in the straight and curved lines is the P. Now the P can be formed by taking your pen, start just below the X height and pull slightly upwards and then down again into this curve, and then make it as straight as you can, just below the descending sort of gap that I've left here in the X height. And then you do the upper semicircular shape, if I can get my nib to behave. And then you sort of just pull a little diagonal shape there. So let's try that again, just one more time. Slight curve, semicircular shape, and then slight angular shape. You can have that close to straight if you like. It looks a little bit neater than that sort of 45-degree angle. So that's the P. Remember to keep the descenders fairly short for letters like this because it's quite a closely spaced hand. The next letter that we'll look at is H, which is formed by starting just above the ascender, and you can use the curve again, and then the semicircle shape. Fairly simple. Now, I haven't showed it for the P, but an alternative that I've seen for this little curve is a slight straight line followed by the downward upright stroke, which you can use as an alternative if you like. It's up to you again, as I say. So that's the H, just downward stroke, and then the upper version of the curved stroke. Next, I'll show you one of the forms of the U. There's an alternate form that I may cover later, I think. I may be wrong though. I think this may be the only version. I might be thinking of N. And U is the lower semicircle, and then you pull up, down into the downward horizontal, and then just bring a slight curve into it at the bottom. Oh, sorry, I can't talk today apparently. So just one more time. Lower semicircle shape, slight pull of the curve upwards and around down to the downward stroke, and then slightly curved up. And this will help out for the next letter, which is an alternative of the N. One of the versions of the N, I should say. There's a straight and a diagonal version. So the N, you can either use that slight straight followed by the down stroke, and then the upper semicircle, or as with the others, you can do the slight curve to the down stroke, the vertical stroke, and then the upper version of the semicircle. So basically just an upside down U, I guess you could say. So if you can handle the U, you'll be able to do the N just fine. Now the next letter is a little bit tricky, and that's the M. And the M is formed with a, you start quite low and you pull into a sort of semicircle shape for the bottom semicircle, but pull up and cut it short, and then from here you pull over into one of the horizontal lines similar to the N and the P and the Q, and then pull into a second lower semicircle and a short little curved line at the bottom. And it can be deceptively tricky to get that shape right. I had quite a bit of trouble with it myself when I first started. So we'll do that one more time. So it's sort of shortened lower semicircle, curve into the straight, and we might bump into that Q, but oh well. And then lower semicircle with the extra stroke. So that's the M. The next letter is the W. Now the W is similar to the M but upside down. So you have the lower stroke, it's sort of similar. And then you have the upright, but starting from here, and then you sort of curve it slightly as you would with the U or with the N. And then you have the upward semicircle. That one was a little bit messy. We'll try that one more time, shall we? So we just have lower semicircle, upright, and then upper semicircle. Now, I personally find that version a little bit awkward. So what I sometimes do as an alternative means is just a lower semicircle, then another lower semicircle, and then an upright vertical stroke. And it just depends on which one you prefer to use. I personally prefer to use that one just because it's a little bit easier, and I can be a bit lazy, but try both of them out and see whichever one works out for you. And yeah. Okay, the next one is Y. So the Y is fairly simple. It's like a U but with a slightly more extended upright. So you have the semicircle, and then you pull this just below the X height again, like you would with the P or the Q. Let's try that one more time. So semicircle, slight curve to the upright. Not the upright, the upright stroke, I suppose you could say. And the final letter for the curved and straight letter set is the F. I've jotted it down a couple of times to give you an idea. Also, my camera kind of ran out of memory, so I'm just starting again for your edification. And it's pretty much similar to the P and the C or the G or the E, or whichever one has the slight curved line. So you start with your 45-degree angle, pull into the vertical just below the X height, pull that slight curve down so you can pull it and you can flick it just slightly like you do with the E and the G, and then just have a straight horizontal that lines up with that curved letter just above the X height. So one more time for good luck. Ran out of ink a little bit, not to worry, these things happen. And then the curved line and the horizontal. So that completes the curved and straight letter set. And in the next episode we will look at the straight letters, inverted commas. So practice these, practice the circular letters, and when you feel ready to move on to the next set, you can come and see it at the next episode, and until then, keep scribbling.